भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवा भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्रा स्थिरैरङ्गैः सुष्ठुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवा स्वस्ति न पूषा विश्ववेदा स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्ददातु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ओम्.
So the previous objection that came from again it is a Purvapaksha from Sunyavadins, Nirma Atmanaha Chaduspatam Pradiknyaya Padatraya Tatrinaiva Chaduthasya Andaprajnadibhyo Anitya Suddhena Andaprajnamityadi Pravishedu Anarthagara. So this an objection is raised, So reference to the second mantra, Sarvam Hiyad Brahma, Soyam Atma Chaduspa, etc. I am Atma Brahma, Soyam Atma Chaduspa. In that mantra, there is a statement that I am Atma Chaduspa. This Atman has got 4 quarters. That's the idea. Now, keeping that in mind, there is an objection raised here. If you have already known that this Atman has got 4 quarters, and now you already described 3 quarters, then why do you say the 4th quarter, Chaduspa, Turiya, can only be explained in terms of negation? So it is actually an objection against the 7th mantra. Why should you argue that the absolute reality can only be explained through Nishedha Shastram? That means by describing what it is not. That is negative theology. And of course we already covered this, and in answer to this opposition, the Bhashyakara says, well, your opposition doesn't stand. Na sarpade vikalpa pradishedhaneva reddu sarpa pradivatti devastasya eva atmanah turyatvena pratipivadeshratvad tattvamasidivat yedihi devastatma vilakshanam tuyamanyat tat pribhattu dwara bhavat shastrapadesha anathakyam sunyadapati va. Now, the answer is this. We have already described the 3 badas, the Vishwa, Taijasa, Prajna, Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti. Now, this Turiya is not something alien, distinct and different from these 3. The same 3 avasthas are only vikalpas, only superpositions on Turiya. So, the same Sarpa, the same Danda, the same Bhuchidra, and the same other Vikalpas, Jaladhara, these are now recognized to be for what they are. They are recognized to be Rajju. What you now understand as Sarpa is recognized to be Rajju when you get spiritual knowledge, when you get Turiya. So it is not that apart from all this you get something else, some other knowledge. Similarly in Vedanta, we don't get any new knowledge. We are only getting back to our own real identity, which actually re-recognizing something that we for some time forgot. That's why, Vedanta, there are 2 important principles. One is moksha yagaritvam, that is, moksha or jnanam is not the karyam or effect of any karana. It is not effect of any sadhana, any karma, etc. So prayer, meditation, sadhanas, discipline, the study of scriptures do not take you to spiritual knowledge. But they remove the obstacles that stand in the way of our recognizing or discovering what we actually are. darkness is removed. In the Bhashya we already stated earlier, we don't see Ghada because the Ghada is now connected to darkness. So when you separate Ghada from darkness, then Ghada is not revealed. Ghada is self-revealed. The light is not revealing Ghada because the Ghada doesn't depend upon light for its revelation. The Ghada is self-revealed. Like that, Atmajnanam is not a karya, the effect of anything. And again, it is not Padya, it is not Samskara, it is not Vigarya, it is not Apya. Atmajnana is not produced like a pot maker makes pot. It is not something that we attain as a result of anything. It is not that Gramantaram gachati, mean from one village to another village. It is not a place, it is not something that you reach, not arrive. It is not something that is samskarya. It is not the result of any kind of refining activity. For example, seeds are refined and you get maybe oil, this iron, this petroleum ore is refined and you get petroleum. Maybe this seed is subject to some refining process, you get oil. Or milk undergoing a process of transformation, vikara, you get curd. So like that, moksha or turiya jnanam is not a result of any kind of activity. It is not something that is attained, obtained, getting as a result of processing, refining or attaining. Actually, all disciplines, including prayer, meditation, and also the Shastra part, everything is only ajnana nivartakam, not jnana pravartakam. Because if you argue that as a result of my sadhana, as a result of my prayer, I got spiritual jnanam, that means prayer is karana and jnanam is karya. So, karya depends upon karana for his existence. Just like oil depends upon oil seed for its existence. Just like golden ornaments depend upon gold for their existence. Like that, moksha or turiya jnanam doesn't depend upon a karana, a cause or a karma for its existence. It is self-revealed. It is Swayam Prakasya. It is an important principle to remember. When we get turiya jnanam, we are only getting back to our true nature. We are getting back to our own spiritual identity. Getting back means it's already ours. For some time we forgot, like the Tattwamasi, that Dasamastamasi, etc. So we get back to what we actually are. So this point is mentioned here. Sarpadi Vigalpa Pradishedhaneva Riduswarupa Pradivaktivata. So when you deny, negate all the Vigalpas like Sarpa, then what happens? Riduswarupa Pradivakti. You have knowledge of Riduswarupa, you get. Similarly, Pradivaktivat Trivastasya eva turiyatvena pradipivadishatvat. Trivastasya means the same turiya is present in the three avasthas. Trivastha means somebody is present in Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti as Vishwataitisa Prajna. That Vishwataitisa Prajna is now recognized to be Turiya, Tattwamasi Idivat. So we already mentioned, in Tattwamasi, we use Lakshana Vritti, Bhagatyaga Lakshana, Jagatajaga Lakshana, and here we use Tattvarya Vritti, but the point is, we finally recognize what we earlier mistook to be Vishwataitisa Prajna is now recognized for what it is, that is Rechu, that is Turiya, that is Atman, Brahman. Otherwise there is a problem. The problem is important. Yadihi Trivasthatma Vilakshanam Turiyam Anyat. Suppose we say this Turiyam is Anyat, Turiyam is something different from Vishwataitisa Prajna. Then there is no way to understand it. Why? Because Turiya, it cannot be understood from scriptures. It is not a result of any pramana. It is not result of anything. It is not the karya. It is something that we know about. Sarva Pramanavati, etc. So, when we, if we say that this Turiya is something distinct and different, then there will be no way to realize, to understand a Turiya, that Pratipatti Dara Bhava. Dara means door, way, means to understand. Pratipatti means knowledge. There will be no way to understand, to get knowledge of Turiya. Then, but not only that, Shastraopadeshararth in the Shastra itself becomes meaningless. Shastra talks about this. Turiya is Sarva Pramanavadhi, Surya is Vacham Gocharam, Turiya is Adrishtyam Vyavakaryam, and so on, Alakshanam, and so on, you already mentioned here. So there is no way to understand through inference, through direct perception, through pramana, through description, so you cannot get it. So that Turiya will be some kind of a shunyata, some kind of a nothingness, some kind of a non-existing idea. So that's a problem. So in order to avoid that problem, you can say the same Vishwa, the same Jagrata state, the same seer, perceiver in the Swapna state, Taijasa, the same Prajna, the seer in the Drashta in the Sushupti state, the same Vishwa, Taijasa, and Prajna are now recognized to be non-distinct from Turiya itself. When we remove that from Vikalpa, Sarpa Praditi is gone, Rajju is perceived. Similarly, Vishwa, Taijasa, Prajna, Vikalpas are gone, Turiya is perceived. Turiya is recognized, is realized. It's not a new knowledge. Remember, when you bring light and you find let's say something is missing, you search everywhere, finally you find it in your own pocket, or maybe you make it on your table. That you don't just jump with joy as you have got something new. Something that's already yours is not recognized to be where it is. So Turiya Jnanam is our own natural nature, our own Surupa. And we already finished that Sabda Parokshawada, that is next one, that's already finished. And also the second paragraph. If somebody tells you that for understanding Turiya we need any other sadhana, any other means, then it means apart from separating the piece into two pieces, you also work with the two ends of this pieces. I think already Yesham Punaha Tamo Punayana Vidireganandi finishes. So, Duttanji mentioned, we already finished that. Any doubt? There's a complicated paragraph, we can explain again. Yesham Punaha, etc. Okay, so I shall describe you once more. Now the question arises. So remember, in the previous paragraph, this already I explained twice, it's already made clear. The point is this: once we realize that it is Rajju, it is not Sarpa, at that very split second, you realize that it is Rajju, because Sarva Prati is gone. Similarly, Antaprajnaditya Pratisheda Vijnana Pramana Samakalameva. What does it mean? The very split second, Samakalame, exactly at that moment, when Antaprajnaditya Pratisheda Vijnana Pramana, the moment you negate this Vikalpas, Antaprajna, Vishprajna, Bheda-prajna, etc. Through Pratisheda, through Nisheda, Samakalameva, that very moment, Atmani Anartha Prabhanja Nivrutti Lakshanam Phala. Then you get the result. What's the result? Atmani Anartha Prabhanja Nivrutti Lakshanam. That means we are already superimposed Prabhanja, that is Deharma Buddhi, on our Atman, that superimposition is gone, nivritti, it is gone. Just like when you bring light, the superimposition or sarpa praditi in the Rajju is gone. And at the same time, you realize it is Rajju. So sarpa praditi is vikalpa, adhyasa, adhyaropa you have to put on Rajju. You bring light at a very split moment, sarpa praditi gone. At this very split second, samakalameva, Rajju praditi comes, Rajju understanding comes. Similarly, the moment through vichara, through spiritual sadhana vichara, when we realize that we are Atman, we are Turiya, at that very split second, this Prabhanja Nirodha takes place. This Anatta Prabhanja Nivritti means the cessation of the wrong perceptions and superimpositions of the vikalpas on Atman. It disappears, it comes to an end. That is Nivritti Lakshanam Phalam Parisamaptam. It happens immediately. Iti Turyadhikane Pramanandram Sadhanandram Vanamrugyam. That means the moment you realize, the moment you start Shankara comes, that we are Turiya, then what happens? No more Pramana required, no more Sadhana required. It's an important point. This is a Pramana Vakyam for Sabda Parokshavada. What does it mean in reality is, when a spiritual seeker is fully established in Sadhana Chadushta Sambhati, which I will not explain you all now, and also in Sravanam, Manam and Vidhyasanam. What happens is, through the Vidhyasana, all the Vijariya Pratyaya Pravaha is completely blocked. All the negative samskaras, thought currents, emotional structures, all completely neutralized, and our mental structure becomes completely filled with Sajadiya Pravahikarana, means all the negative samskaras are blocked. It's completely filled with Sajad, means appropriate, spiritually conducive samskaras. That means, I give the example, there is no better example that we can narrate to monks of Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna could immediately get experience. Actually, it is not against Shastra. People look at, clearly stated, it's a view of Vivarna Prasthana. But this means Sabda Parokshavada. Which means, when a spiritual seeker has already reached the highest state of fitness, what happens is, even one Sravanam, one time listening of Tattwamasi Mahavakya, that Sravanam creates in his mind Aham Brahmasmi Anubhuti. This is the view. If that spiritual seeker is not an advanced spiritual seeker, if he is not fully established in Sravana, Manana, and Nidhyasana, then what happens? Then that seeker will have to do a lot of sadhanas. It's called prasankhyanam, is the word used in the language of Vedanta. This view was upheld by Bhamadi Prasthana, which follows the tradition of Vajaspati Misra, who wrote Bhamadi Tika. It's a commentary on Brahma Sutra Bhashya, not the entire book. So he was followed by Amarananda and also then by Appaya Dikshita. So Appaya Dikshita emphasized the importance of Sravanavarti. You should undergo Sravanam again and again. Every day you should read scriptures, you should read Tattwamasi Mahavakya, and then you should practice Anusandhanam. You should concentrate, focus on this. And there are two Mahavakyas that are used for Anusandhanam and Mananam. One is there is Ayam Atma Brahma, the one from Mandukya. The other is from Aitariya Upanishad, that is Prajnanam Brahma, that is from Rigveda. One is from Atharvaveda, Mandukya, the other is from Rigveda, Prajnanam Brahma, Aitariya Upanishad. So, if a person doesn't immediately get an anubhuti, which is the case for the majority of spiritual seekers, what happens is, then that seeker, that sadhaka should practice sravanavarti. That is called parimala paddhati. That is the method established in Kalpataru Parimala by Advaita Ashrama, who was a follower of Bhamati Prasthana. So, like that, if anyone who listens to Mahabharata, or even for Shastra, it's a simple process. Suppose we read these Upanishad Bhashyas, we feel terribly bored. There are many wonderful entertaining things. This is not a very entertaining thing. You know why? That's because our sadhana, the dushta sambhati, is not enough. Nitya nitya vastu viveka, ikamutra bhalagoga viraga, samadhi sarka sambhati mumukshitvam. We have it, that's why we are here. We are doing all the service, all the study we are doing. We have certainly got that. We know the world is not bothering much about. So, nitya nitya vastu viveka, ikamutra bhalagoga viraga is absolutely no doubt. Samadhi sarka sambhati also is there. Mumukshitvam is there, but not enough. So, when we don't have enough of that, then we won't have a taste for Sravanam. Sravanam doesn't mean hearing. Sravanam actually means connecting with the scripture. And preferably, I must tell you, the original scripture. That is Sravanam. But remember, it's not so. There are many great spiritual men and women who have realized spiritual and without knowing a word of Sanskrit. That also is there. But Sravana technically means, I mentioned this earlier, Sravana means actually listening properly and also with proper understanding. That is ittham varkehi tadarthanusandhanam sravanam bhavet panchadesi. So not only listening or reading, but also you should follow these Sruti Vakyas by focusing, concentrating on the meaning. And then when you again focus and concentrate on the meaning or the interpretation of these Sruti Vakyas, Upanishad Vakyas, it is called Mananam, Sudasya Arthasya Upavatibihi Chintanam. Yuktya Sambhavyatva Anusandhanam Maranam Tat. It's only Panchadesi. There are different books are there. That is Mananam. So Mananam is a much more intense process. Understand the meaning, logically analyze. Once we logically analyze, we internalize these Sravana, these Sruti Vakyas. That is Sravana. Again, Vijadya Pratyaya Tiriskarena Sajadya Pratyaya Pravahigaram Nidhyasa. That is meaning. So you remove all Vijadya Pratyayas, means all negative thought currents, negative ideas, negativity, so to speak, from our mind, and we counter it by bringing Sajadya Pratyaya Pravahikaranam. That means we have to bring into our mind appropriate thought currents conducive to scriptural studies and spiritual life, so that we should be able to utilize the impact of negative thought currents. Now, when all this happened, slowly this Sravanam will immediately produce anubhuti. The real meaning of Sabda Paroksha is, the moment you listen to Sravanam, you don't have to do Mananam, because you are doing Mananam all the time. Sri Ramakrishna was doing Mananam, Nidhyasana all the time. Another historical example that is found in Shankaracharya himself, when he was 7 years old, less than 7 years. He had learned, studied and experienced all this from his Guru, that is Govinda Bhagavapada. So when you are fully established, you are reached an exalted position of spiritual fitness by getting established in Sravana, Manana, Nidhyasana. Then what happens? Immediately becomes anubhuti. Otherwise, you have to go through these Anusandhanam and Mananam through Ayamatma Brahma and Prajnanam Brahma, these through Mahavakyas, and also Karma Yoga, Bhakti, upasanas, jnanam, all these should be practiced. Then what happens is slowly, gradually we reach that experience. That's called prasankhyanavada. Then there is another school regarding Vartika Prasthanam. They also believe in Sabdaparokshvada. So there is not need to mention again. So this is an important thing. Pramanandram sadhanandram vanamrugyam. Rajju sarpa viveka samakale iva. Rajjam sarpa nivrutti phale sadi vijyadhikamasis. That is, the example is given. Just as when you understand it is Rajju and not Sarpa, at that very split second, the Sarpa Bhranti in Rajju disappears. In the next paragraph, Bhashyagara anticipates some objection to the Sabdaparoksha. And he anticipates those objections and he is giving his arguments. Yesham punaha tapopadayana vidhiregena gadadigame viyoga pradiregena anyatravayave api chidirvyapriyade ityuktam syat. Suppose somebody tells you, after removing the connection, the connectedness between ghata and darkness, you get a knowledge of ghata. It means you bring light to a semi-lit room where there is a pond which you could not see because there is no light. When you bring light, you see that. So what you did, you just removed a connection between ghata and tama. That's the meaning of tapopanayana vidhiregena ghadatigami pramanam vyapayate. Now, suppose somebody tells you that apart from removing this connection between darkness and ghata, you need another pramanam, you need another way to explain this knowledge of ghata. So, that argument is now refuted by giving an example. It is tesham chedya avayava sambandha viyoga vitirekena anyatra avayave api chidirvyapriyade ityuktam syat. So, this is an example taken from a metaphor. That is, you think of a piece of wood and you take an axe, you cut it into two. So technically what you are doing is, you are separating the connection between the two halves. Of course, the two pieces, the two halves emerge only after you cut it. But you can say, you did not cut it. You only cut. You only remove the connection between the two halves. As you mentioned, there is a Yoga Sutra is in Kaivalyapada. That is, you are trying to irrigate a field. So, and then you cut a canal to bring water from the nearby river. And it may be 100 meters long. To bring water from a lake or a river to the field where you want to irrigate. So, according to Patanjali, you are only removing the soil on that part of the earth through which the canal is cut. That's the idea behind. Nimittam aprayojikam pragadinam, like that, this is a statement, kshetrikavat. So, you are just removing the obstacle. Similarly, you are just removing the connection between the two halves when you cut them into two pieces. Suppose somebody tells you that to cut this piece into two pieces, you should do much more than removing the connection, and then after cutting it again you should work on the two ends of the two pieces. Two pieces you already cut. And then again with the axe, you again work on this piece and this piece. Not necessarily. You have removed the connection, there are now two pieces. Again you don't have to worry about you polishing one end or the other end of these two half pieces. If they say that, they are absolutely unacceptable. This is not very logical. Chetya avayava sambandha viyoga vitirekena means apart from the sambandha viyoga, means apart from removing the connection between the two pieces, by working with these acts, anyatara avayava api chidam vyaprayate. And then after cutting this piece into two halves, again you have to work independently on the two pieces. That is absolutely meaningless. The purpose is finished the moment you cut the piece into two pieces. The wood into two pieces. Again you don't have to work on either side. Itiktum yada punah ghadakamaso vivekakarane pravuttam pramanam. I mean, you already brought a light, and with that light you already vivekakarana, means you already separated. There is separation between ghada and tama. Then what happens? Ghada is revealed. Anubhadit sida tamo nivritti pilavasanam chidiriva. So the moment you finish cutting the timber into pieces, at that very split second, the function of Chedana Kriya, that is Gandhigiri calls it, Chedana Kriya is over. You don't have to do anything else. Cheti aveva sambandha vivekakarane pravutta tad aveva dvedi bhavasana tada na antarigam ghadavijnanam na pramana phalam. Ghadavijnanam na pramana phalam. Ghadavijnanam na antarigam means it here. Nandariga means avashyabhavi, inevitable. The moment you separate darkness from ghada, at that very moment, ghadavijnanam, the knowledge that there is a ghada, is inevitable, invariable, imminent, unavoidable. That way, it is not a result of any pramana, it is not a result of any other means. Similarly, one important point implied here, this is very important. The purpose of jnanam is to reveal the truth by removing ignorance. The revealing the truth is not actually the function. It is another name that we call for removing darkness. So a jnani has no knowledge of jnana. This is an important point. The purpose of jnanam is to remove ajnanam or avidya. And then you don't keep the jnanam behind with you. I gave the example in the morning in the same context. Nadyaha paravo navo na munchati yathesha deshagamane swadandri sati. So a boat is like jnanam that you use to cross the river. And you cross the river by using boat. After crossing the river using the boat, you don't carry the boat on your head. Why? Yatha sudeshta desha gamane swatandrisari. You have freedom to go wherever you want. Before that you didn't have freedom. You were on this back. So you needed jnanam, you needed pramanas, you needed shastra jnanam, you need sadhanas, everything. Because that is needed. And then you got jnana. And through jnana you realize that you are turiya, you are atman. After you realize you are turiya, then you don't need jnana. Actually, even jnanam is transcended. And what remains after transcending jnanam is called vijnanam. In the bhashya this comes again and again in many bhashyas. More frequently in Chandogya and Birudhanaya, but Gita Bhashya, here also it comes very frequently, in Brahmasudha Bhashya also. So, you have to remember this simple metaphor. You are standing on this side of the river, you need a boat to cross the river, and because what's the purpose? To understand your true nature, Surupa, Atmajnana, that Advaita Anubhutis. That means Jiva Brahma Aikyam Anubhuti. For that you need jnana. And for jnanam, you need karma yoga, all these things you need. But after getting jnanam, you already realize you are Brahman, you are not this physical body. Your Shariratma buddhi is gone. And again this jnanam you don't carry with you. You carry it with you as a function of a Jivan Mukta or incarnation. At that stage, you use jnana. You are not an aspirant of jnana. You don't need it all the time. You don't carry it with you all the time. That state where you transcend jnana is called vijnana. So it is like the state of a man who crossed the river already, and now he doesn't carry this boat on his head. He leaves behind and he goes wherever he wants. Yatha Sudesha Desha Gamini, or Sudesha Gamini, two versions are there. Swadandri, he has got freedom to go wherever he wants, to his own place. So, like that, Chetyana Aveva Sabbanta Viveka Karane Pravutta, Tat Aveva Dviti Bhava Phalavasana. Chetana Kriya and its phala and its result ends with cutting the piece into two half. Tada Nandariyam Gadavijnanam Pramana Pramana Param. Like that point is, the moment you remove darkness from Ghata, then the fact that is Ghata is, and that experience that is Ghata is an inevitable end result. It is not the result of any pramana. That's the idea behind it. Okay, but this state is reached by prasankhyanavadins only gradually, not immediately. In other words, Turiya Jnana means Artha Siddham. It is not Pramana Jnana. It is Artha Siddham. Artha Siddham means it automatically is attained. It is not something even attained, because words have a problem. Going with Einstein and Western philosopher. Every word is only an attempt to explain. There is always a gap between where the words stand and what those words try to expound. Modern time with Einstein and this philosophers have pointed out this problem. So that's why Shastram to Ajnana Nivartakam and not Jnana Pravartakam. This is important. Pramanam never produces Jnanam. Pramanam contributes by removing obstacles that stand in the way of our getting jnana. And once this obstacle is removed, then jnana is inevitable. Nandriyagam Gadavijnanam. See, Nandri means Sanskrit word, inevitable, avasya bhavi as a meaning. That's the idea. It is unavoidable. You can't help it. That's Kadavijnana. And so again this is an example to prove that the moment you realize that truth, then you realize it is not a result of any pramana or karma. Next. Nacha tattutapi atmani adhyaropila antaprakyattvadi vivekakarane pravrittasya pradisheda vijnana pramanasya Anubaditchida antaprakyattvadi nivatti vedirekena turiyi vyaparopatti antaprakyattvadi nivatti samaganameva pramatuttvadi veda nivrittehi. So, secondly, again, when we remove how? Through pradisheda vijnana. Pradisheda vijnana means, I mentioned this, the negative theology or negative theology of Mr. Eckhart means explaining something by describing what it is not. Nanta prakyam, nagush prakyam, naveda prakyam, na prakyam, na prakyam, etc. Though each of those words will be explained in the coming two sessions. So here the point is, you remove all these antaprakyattvadi vikalpas which are already there in this in the Turiya, like different vikalpas superimposed upon Dirju, all these are removed. Now, apart from removing all these, this jnanam doesn't have any other function in Turiya. Why? Because the moment antapranyatvam or Bahishprajnatam, Ubhedaprajnatam, all these vikalpas are removed. At that very moment, the Tribudis, that is Pramada, Prameya and Pramanam, all these will completely go away. Then there is neither Jnanam nor Ajnanam. Jnanam has removed Ajnanam. The Jnanam itself is self-destroyed. It just disappears. So we will remember that is the implication of a famous statement in the morning session we read. I think, you should remember the statement, that is Turiyascha Atmatva Vagamesati Avidya Krishnani Doshanam Sambhavasti Nacha Turiyasya Atmatva Anavigame Karanamasti. So there is no way for us to even suspect or doubt the possibility of Turiya Jnanam. Why? Then Sarvopanishadam Tadatthena Upakshayat. All Upanishads, going beyond words, they just disappear into silence. Because all that's Veda, Bhavanti, all that we find. So, all Upanishads, they talk about Brahman, they talk about Advaita, etc. And then finally, they talk about something about which they cannot talk about. That is Veda, Bhavanti. Vedas are no more Vedas when it comes to the highest experience. So all that they said in the Yajurveda, the Yajurveda is repeated, that is, they mentioned here, silence is the language of infinite. Anantaya Mukam. Antaya Bhuvadinam, Anantaya Mukam. That silence, that is the Sarvopanishadam Tadatthena Upakshayat. All Upanishads finally retire. Upakshayat retiring. They take you all the way up to this jnana. That is Shastra. The boat will take you up to the other bank of the river. Then the boat will not follow you. You have to go to your own place. That is the ultimate purpose of all Shastras. So, like that, apart from removing all these wrong vikalpas and misunderstandings, misconceptions, these Pratisheda Vijnana Pramana, the Shastra Pramana has nothing else to do. That is the meaning here. Yada nacha tadvat api atmani adhyaropita antapragyatwadi viveka karane pravurtasya Pratisheda Vijnana. Antapragyatwadi Viveka means to remove all these vikalpas from Atman. In Atman, all these Antapragyam, Vishpragyam, Uvedapragyam, all these are superimposed, or they are removed through Pratisheda Vijnana Pramana, that is Nantapragyam, Vishpragyam, the seventh mantra. Then what happens is, apart from creating this right knowledge, there is no other function for these pramanas. So the idea, not only that, and one strong statement is there, iti jnanasya dvaita nivritti kshana vitirekena kshanandra anavasthanat. So, dvaita nivritti kshana vitirekena. Jnanam only performs this important duty of dvaita nivritti. And when dvaita nivritti comes, prapatyopasamam. And apart from that, this jnanam will not remain for one split second. The boat will not remain there for a minute. Pramanam and jnanam have no function. That's why experience is beyond jnana. And that transcendent level is called vijnana. It's an important thing to remember. You need jnana, but after jnana takes you to the highest level of Turiyanubhuti, Advaita, then that jnana doesn't remain. Why? Pramatruttvadi bheda nivrittehi. Antapragnattvadi nivritti samagameva. The moment Antaprakyatwadi, Antaprakyam, Vishprakyam, Vedaprakyam, etc., Vishwa, Tejasa, Prajna, all these, Jagra, Swapna, Sushupti, all these Vikalpas are gone. Then what happens? Samadhana Meva, on at that very split second, Paramatattvadi, Bhed Nivritti. It's got clear? The text is there. You're following the text? At that very moment, Pramada, Pramanam, and Prameya, Tribhuti, all of them disappear. So when Pramatattva is gone, there can be no more Jnanam. If Jnana is not there, there cannot be Jnanam, there cannot be any Jnayam. So that means this Anubhuti goes beyond Pramanam, Prameya and Pramatattva, or Jnanam, Jnayam and Jnata, or Dhyanam, Dhyaga, Dhyayam. All these Tribhutis are transcended. The moment all these Vikalpas are gone, because the cessation of Vikalpas produces transcending, the effect of transcending Pramadattva. That means Pramadattva Nivritti means not only Pramadattva Nivritti, Prameyatva and also not only Pramana and Pramanatva. Pramanam is gone, the means. Pramada is gone, the person, and Prameya, what is known, the knower, the known and knowledge, Pramana. All these distinctions cease to exist. Tathaja Vakshati. Here is a quotation, Yade Dvaidam Navidyate. Yade means the moment you realize knowledge, Dvaidam Navidyate. So, Dvaita, that's why actually technically speaking, Jnanam also belongs to Dvaita. But Jnanam is the boat. You need a boat, of course, to reach other bank. That's the idea behind. Idi Jnanasya Dvaita Nivritti Kshana Vitirekena Kshanandra Anavasthanat. So, the moment, the split second, the Jnanam is able to affect Dvaita Nivritti, it completely causes the cessation of Dvaita. Apart from that split second, Jnanam immediately goes away. There is no need of Jnanam. Jnanam itself is not something that you carry with you after getting Jnanam. Because the moment you get Jnanam, then that moment onwards you become a Vijnani. Then you don't say I'm a Jnani, you don't say, because Jnanam is not a process. It is not an action. It's a state where Ajnanam is removed. Actually, removal of Ajnanam is a better definition of Jnana. How do you define light? Light cannot be better defined better than absence of darkness. That's why in the Panchabadhya Vivarana, Prakashatmedi defines Mithyatvam, and Mithyatvam is linked to Dvaita Prapancha. So he defines Mithyatvam as Jnana Nivartitvam va Mithyatvam. Jnana Nivartitvam. Somebody who runs away when Jnanam comes, when somebody who is removed when Jnanam comes. If somebody runs away when light comes, the running person should be darkness. If somebody disappears, if something disappears when Jnanam, knowledge comes, that disappearing person should be ignorance. So, the only purpose, the only function of Jnanam is to remove Ajnanam. And the Jnanam doesn't remain there even for a split second. Because so long as Jnanam is there, Jnatritvam is there. And Jnatritvam is denied in Turiya. That's important thing. Jnatritvam is denied in Turiya. Turiya cannot be defined even as Jnata. In the coming paragraphs it comes. Or interlinked. Every statement is linked to every succeeding and preceding statement. So in the coming paragraph, Bhashyakara will tell you, even Jnatritva or Prajnatritva, both are same, cannot be attributed to Turiya. Turiya cannot even define as Jnata. Because behind the I, the Jnata is Turiya. Turiya is the Adhara of Jnatritva. Not Jnatritva, but Adhara of Jnatritva. Deep support, the foundation of Jnatritva is Turiya Atma. So remember, Jnanasya Dvaita Nivritti Kshana Vitirekena Kshanantara Navasthanat. So, this is an important point. That is, Jnanam won't remain there even for one split second. This idea behind. Jnanam just goes away, that's all. Next is, otherwise you know what happens? Avasthaneva and anavastha, prasangadvaita, anivritti. Then then to remove that jnanam, you need another jnanam. So remember, it should be very clearly understood, involved logic. The moment you say, I am a knower of Brahman, that's a clear proof that you are not a knower of Brahman. You can say you be scholar of philosophy of Jnana, but not a Jnana Anubhuti, because Anubhuti cannot, a person who has got Anubhuti cannot say, I have known Brahman. That is why, that it is neither knowledge nor ignorance. If anyone say, I have known knowledge, what he actually implies is, in ordinary sense, it's a different context, the Vedantic terminology. It means that person thinks that knowledge, that jnana, Atma Jnanam is something that can be known. The way we know about physics, chemistry and mathematics, the person may think, I have known Atma Jnanam. Which is a clear proof that he doesn't know what Atma Jnanam actually is. He doesn't even know that Atma Jnanam is not something that can be empirically known. It cannot be empirically known. It is Anubhava Vidya. But then all descriptions, Shastra's discussion will be there. That's true. You may find, somebody may ask this question, why did Shankaracharya write all these books after getting Atma Jnana? That's a function of every incarnation, every great spiritual teacher. What else will they do? They won't do anything else. So, that is common for all great spiritual seekers. They spend a whole lifetime living the world of these ideas. There is no other world for them to live in. That's why. So, avasthaneva anavastha prasanga and dvaita anivritti. Anavastha prasangat, dvaita anivritti. Not only that, if jnana remains there, then that jnana also should be removed. Jnana means I am Jnatattva God. That should be removed through another jnana. Then it should be removed by another jnana. Ad infinitum. Means anavastha. It's a continuous process. There will be no end. Then what happens? Dvaita anivritti, Dvaita will never come to an end. Dvaita will never cease to exist. There will be no end of Dvaita. Tasmat, Praseda Vijnana Pramana Vyapara Samakareva Atmani Adhyarovida Antapragnatvari Nivritti Siddham. Therefore, through this Antapragnam, Vishpragnam, Upvedapragnam, etc., through this Nishedha Mukha Vakya, you remove all the superimpositions, all vikalpas, like Antaprajna, Vishprajna, Vedaprajna, etc., Vishvajasa Prajna, etc. At that very moment, what happens, everything comes to an end. That is Siddham, that is the ultimate experience. It is Siddham. It's very, very clear. That's idea behind. So, if we are getting it down, we can ask, is a complicated statement. All anarthas will go away, it becomes obvious. No, come on.
Isn't that state very close to Sushupti also? Isn't that state very close to Sushupti?
No, that's I'll tell you. It's a good question. In Sushupti, there is a similarity actually, but it is totally different. In Sushupti, you are not being aware of the fact that you are in Sushupti. You become aware of your Sushupti state only when you come out of it. But in Atma Jnanam, in a way, it is, let us say, it's a continuation of Sthula or Jagra state. In Sushupti state, you will not do sadhana, you will not do vichara. Swapna also you will not do. People who do that, that's because in the Jagrata state they have done a lot of vichara. So this gradual evolution through sadhana, sambhati, sravana, manana, nidhyasana, already vichara, that takes place only in sthula state, Jagrata state. With Jagrata only there is continuity. So in Swapna there is no continuity. Sushupti, of course, there is no experience along with awareness. Experience is there, but you become aware of that experience only when you come out of Sushupti. So that's why some prince schools of Advaitins have already raised these views that Sushupti and Samadhi are the same. Actually, Shankaracharya had made clear in hundreds of occasions that it is not the same. That's why they have been made. In Sushupti, you experience total restfulness. It's an important thing. Aham sukham aswasam. This sukha is only a state of natural, spontaneous restfulness, effortless restfulness. Real restfulness comes only when you get it in a very effortless manner. Otherwise, somebody knocking at your head, you may fall unconscious. It is not a restful state. Anesthesia is not a restful state. Murcha is not a restful state. Somebody due to coma, not restful state. Similar to Sushupti. But in Sushupti, it comes to Bhashya, because you have been aware of it, you flow into Sushupti. You have no control of it. That's the thing. And there is a smooth, effortless, natural state, way in which you enter Sushupti. You can never tell anyone that split second you entered Sushupti. No, you cannot say. Because it happens in spite of yourself. There is complete Dvaita Abhava in Sushupti. Absence of Dvaita. But that absence of Dvaita is because you are not able to experience Dvaita. Dvaita doesn't cease to exist. But your instrument, your mind, which alone can experience Dvaita, they becomes non-functional. So it is as good as no Dvaita. But there is no Dvaita Atitatva. When you transcend Dvaita, you become Jivan Mukta. The transcendence of Dvaita happens only in Turiya state. There is no freedom in Sushupti. In Turiya there is total freedom. That's important.
Turiya is not a state, no?
Yeah, but then in language you have to use it. See, pada is used. It's not a pada. Then actually, that's why. At a higher level even Turiya is not a state. Turiya cannot be called anything. That's true. But then in discussion, philosophy and language can only be an approximation to explain spiritual ideas, even at the best or the highest level. So that's why Sushupti is a natural state. But there is no freedom for you, as I get. Okay, now next. Now, of course, the real bhashya of the mantra bhaga comes here, Yeah. Now, na anta pratyamidi, taijasa pradishedha, na bhish pratyamidi, visha pradishedha, na veda pratyamidi, jagrida swapnayohu, andarala avastha pradishedha, na pratyana ghanamidi, susuptavastha pradishedha. Reason is given bija bhava viveka surupatva dana pratyamidi yugavat sarva visaya jnatutta pradishedha. So you can find Turiya even cannot be called jnata. That is Tribhuti was Nikita mentioned earlier. Na pratyamidi achaitanya pradishedha. So all these terms used in the seventh mantra are explained. First, na anta pratyam iti taijasa pradishedha. So first, the Bhashikara takes up Swapna, because Swapna is easy to reject. And then you can say your Jagrata is just like Swapna, you can say. So, Nantaprakyam, Bhishprakyam, etc. So, Antaprakyam is Taijasa Pradishedha. Swapna is only an aspect of Turiya. Remember, one important thing is, in one way, all the three stages, and all the perceivers in all the three stages, Antaprakyam, Bhishprakyam, Vedaprakyam, Prakyam, Prajnanaganam, all, including Vishwa, Taijasa Prajna, etc., Jagar, Swapna, Sushupti, etc., they cannot exist independent of Turiya. Remember the mistaking, when you mistake a rope or a snake or a piece of wood or a stream of water or whatever else, you cannot have any of these misconceptions without the Rajju being there. Rajju should be there, then only you can mistake that for something else. Actually, that what you call Sarpa is Rajju only. What you call Bhuchita is Rajju only. What you call Jaladhara is Rajju only. So what you call Vishwa is Turiya only. But Vishwa is unreal, Vishwa Turiya is real. Jagat is unreal, Jagat as Brahman, it is devoid of Nama is real. This is important thing. The magician's example, which I elaborated many times, the magician who is seen climbing on, holding to the rope, that magician, who is actually the magic show is unreal, the magician is real. In fact, I mentioned, the outlandish dress code of the magician who is standing there, and also the one who is climbing, all the same. But really the magician is not climbing. Similarly, Turiya is not actually Vishwa. But actually, Turiya alone, Vishwa, see, both are the same. Rajju is Sarpa. But actually, Rajju is not Sarpa. You can now understand. Sarpa really cannot come without Rajju being there. But actually, it's not Sarpa. Like that. So remember, in Vedanta, that's very important. This world is not negated. This world is not denied. This world is not rejected. Vedanta only tells you this world as this world is Nama and Rupa. Not absolutely real. That's all Vedanta tells you. Nothing else. This world as this world is only Mithya. And Mithya means something Jnana Nivartitvam, very Prakasamayadi Panchapadevya. When knowledge comes, this wrong perception goes away. That's all reality. If your Mithya is Vyavahara is real, when you realize Paramarthika, then only the Mithyatama Mithya becomes clear. Mithyatama Mithya becomes clear. When you see Rajju, then only Sarpa Prajiti is realized. I mean, the notion of Sarpa is now recognized to be wrong. That's all. Otherwise, Sarpa only. Those who don't have enough light, only Sarpa. Actually, there is a Purva-paksha that comes after this. The Purva-paksha will help you to make things clear, because it's raising some objection and Bhashyakara responds to that. No Veda Prakyamiti. These are very, very obvious, That means Vishwa in Bhishprajna and Taijasa in Antaprajna, and then Prajna in Sushupti state, in Prajnanagana, all actually are only, just to mention, the Antaprakyam is meant to remove the notion that Turiya is Taijasa. Bhishprajnam is mentioned just to say that Turiya is not Vishwa. And again, Prajnanaganam is mentioned to tell you that Turiya is not Sushupta, Turiya is not Prajna. Now comes Sushuptavastha Pradishedhaga, this is the explanation given, Bija Bhava Aviveka Surubhatvat. So in Sushupti state, this Sushupti experience as good Bija Bhava. What is Bija Bhava? It is very clear. Sushupti is the cause of Swapna and Jagat. We gave the example of Mahatmasya Drishtanta and Sabri Drishtanta. So in Vedantic language, Mahamatsya is Jiva. The river, the water is Sushupti. One bank of the river is Jagrat. The other bank is Swapna. Where does Mahamatsya live? In the river. So, where does he originate his movement? From the river. So actually, Jagrat and Swapna are the karyas, effects of Sushupti. That's an important thing. Normally people mistake. I go to sleep, first Jagrat, from Jagrat go to sleep, and then Swapna, then Sushupti. No. Sushupti is technically called Agrahana. Agrahana means absence of proper understanding. Absence of proper understanding alone creates misconception. When you realize a thing for what it is, you don't mistake it for something else. If you know it is a rope, then you don't mistake it for a snake. So Agrahanam is the cause of everything. Agrahanam is the cause of Anyathagrahanam. Anyathagrahanam means Nanatva Bodha. You see different things. In Jagrat state, you interact with so many things, so many manifold objects you interact with in waking state. So also in Swapna, because whatever we experience in Jagrat, we recreate in Swapna. Though they are not exactly the same, but you cannot have any Swapna or dream which is totally disconnected, which is totally different from, separate from Jagrat experiences. So Jagrat and Swapna have got not only Agrahana, but also Anyathagrahana. Agrahana is Karana, causal and causal form. Anyathagrahana is effect, the result. In Sushupti there is only Agrahana. You don't see anything, no Anyathagrahana. So Sushupti is considered to be the causal form. It is the real origin, or the point of origin of Jagrat Swapna experiences. That's an important point to remember. That's why, and from Sushupti, Jagrat Swapna originate. That's why it is Bija Bhava. Bija means seed. Sushupti is the seed. Jagrat Swapna are the sprouts. And not Aviveka Swarupattva. In Sushupti, you don't distinguish one from the other. Because there is no Nanatva. Na pratyamiti yugavat sarva vishek jnatutta pradeshaka. So, sometimes people may misunderstand. Turiya is the jnata of all the experiences in Jagrat and Swapna states. And also the experiencer of Aham Sukham Apsapsam. I had a wonderful sleep. So, Turiya can be defined. Turiya can be defined as the jnata, prajnata of all experiences. That is also wrong. It is true that without Turiya there cannot be jnanam or jnatritvam. To be sure there is a prajna. But it is wrong to define Turiya as jnata, because Turiya transcends all possible definitions, all descriptions. Sarva, Sabda Pravritti Nisheda we already described, explained earlier in the morning session. Therefore, na prajnamiti yugapat sarva vishek jnatutta pradeshedha, na prajnamiti achaitanya pradeshedha. In that case, you may say Turiya is devoid of Chaitanyam, that also wrong. To avoid that, na aprajnam is also mentioned. Now the Purvapaksha comes. This is very important. Now Purvapaksha, actually this is Shanka. Shanka is neither Siddhanta nor Purvapaksha. Shanka is a technique that Bhashyakara uses, anticipates a possible objection, not a real opposition coming from Vimamsakas or Bhaktas. So it is Shanka. Shanka means, so a reader may have, a student of philosophy may have this possible doubt. So he anticipates this doubt. Katham punaga antaprajnatvadinam atmani gamyamananam rajvadu sapadivat pradesheda asattam gamyate iti uchyate. Nyasurupa, okay, that is iti. After that there is a Shanka. What does it mean is, Katham punaga antaprajnatvadinam atmani gamyamananam rajvadu sapadivat. Okay, now the point is, you may mistake Rajju, that is rope, for a sarpa, or Bhuchidra, Danda, etc. When you bring light, you understand it is not Sarpa, it is Rechu. Okay, clear. But how do you apply this analogy, this metaphor, in the context of Antaprakyam, Vishprakyam, Uvidaprakyam, etc.? Because in the context of Reju Sarpa, it's obvious. Anyone bring light, you know it is not Sarpa, it is not Bhuchidra, Danda, etc. How do you apply that principle here in this context? Now, answer is given. The point is, Uchade Yaswarupa Visheshayavi. Yaswarupa means Drashta, the seer, the experiencer, the witness, the subject. So, in Jagrat and Jagrat Swapna Sushupti stage, Drashta, the seer, the experiencer, the witness, the subject, doesn't change. What is experienced, what is perceived, drishyas will change. Because in waking state, you may see an elephant walking the street. In dream, you may see an elephant flying in the sky. Because technically, when what happens, you bringing associations from vasanas and samskara in dream. You know, you heard, you think of some birds or animals or something fly. This can happen. And you have seen an elephant. So you combine together an elephant and the possibility of flying. Children may do that, not grown-up people. All this happened. Anyway, there is always mixing up of samskaras and possibilities, impressions and vasanas that you have gathered in waking state. You connect them together in a very illogical manner in Swapna. So you see different strange dreams which are logically not possible to happen. So there is plurality and diversity with regard to drishyas. But there is no diversity with regard to drashta. The same drashta experiences Jagrat, experiences Swapna objects and also Sushupti. How do you know that? Because you are able to recollect after Swapna, after coming back to waking state. For some time you are able to recollect what you saw in dream. That means you, the drashta, was present in dream. Same drashta is now remembering dream objects. So there is a connecting bridge. The same drashta continues to remember dreams when he has come out of dream. Say the same drashta again feels total restfulness. Agam Sugamasvapsam after Sushupti. So it is not two persons. The same drashta in Sushupti remembers after Sushupti, after coming out of Sushupti, the same drashta witness, seer, experiences this restfulness and peace and happiness. That means drashta is the same, but drishyas are different. So it's important thing to remember. Now here is an important point. Normally, in Vedanta, in popular Vedantic scriptures, in Prakarana Granthas especially, the definition of Satyam is, or Satta is, Trishu Kaleshu Yet Na Vibhijarati Tadeva Satyam. So normally, Satyam is defined as Trikala Atida and Sabrikara Atida. Jayade Asti Vardhade Viparinamade Apakshede Vinasyati. These are 6 changes. Something that remains the same. That is being born, existing, growing, evolving, decaying and dying out, disappearing. These 6 changes. Just first mentioned by Niruptagara, Yaska, in his own language. So, Sadvikara Adhidatu. So, and again, another definition of Satyatvam in popular Vedantic Prakarana Granthas is in the context of Trikala, something that remains in the past, present and future, which remains without any change. That is, Trishu Kaleshu Yatna Vivirati. Sadvikara Atidatvam and Trikara Atidatvam. These are two criteria for deciding whether something is real in the absolute sense or not. But in Mandukya, another important, a much better, a much more logically defensible definition is brought in. But it's Avasthatraya Avadidatvam. Because Tishu Kaleshu Yat Na Vibhicharati Tadeva Satyam. Na Vibhicharati Tadeva Satyam. That appeal that applies only to Sthula. Because Sthula is Jagrat state. Only in Jagrat state we think of past, present and future. And so in Swapna we don't think of past, present and future. Sushupti, of course, there is no perception of time, kala. So these definitions have a problem. I mean, they are lopsided. So Mandukya Kariga brings in another, a much more profound interpretation of Satya. That is Trigara Avadidatvam. Something that remains without any change in the Avasthatraya, Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti Avasthas. That alone can be called real or Nityam or Satyam according to Mandukya. So, based on this, Bhashyakara says, Nyasarupa Visheshyavi Idredra Vibhicharat Asatyatvam Rijjadu Iva Sarpadharad Vigat Pabedavad Sarvatra Abhibhicharat Yasurupasya Satyatvam. So, Vibhicharitvat Sarpavad Mithyatvatvat Nishedha Yogitvam, this is the underbelief. So, Vibhicharitvat Sarpavad. Sarpa changes. You may take the Jew for a Sarpa, and then we may mistake it for a Bhujidra. Bhujidra means crack on the floor. Jaradhara, a thin stream of light, and then a curved piece of stick. So one may have these various vikalpas. Or four persons will mistake the Rajju for four different objects. Also there is a Idareda Vedata, means internal difference. I mean, you may mistake the Rajju for a Sarpa now, later